At the Falcons facility, Kay Adams recently made an appearance for Showing Up. And Adams, there were a bunch of different guys interviewed, Bijan Robinson, Raheem Morris. One in particular that caught our eye from a clip, Grady Jarrett. He says, he didn't flat out say it, but he hinted it. He was
like on paper.
He made it pretty obvious that on paper, this is the most talented Falcons team he has ever played for since 2015, which includes the team that went to the Super Bowl, includes 2017, where there were a couple of unlucky plays from probably going back to the Super Bowl and a loss to the Eagles, who eventually won the Super Bowl. What do you think? Do you think on paper this team stacks up to those 2016, 2017 Falcons team the last time this team was in the postseason?
I don't think he's crazy for saying that. In terms of how they're structured, that was a very good offensive line back then. You have a very good offensive line this year. You have a bunch of great skill positions back then. You have great skill positions this year. You got a veteran signal caller in Matt Ryan back then, veteran in Kirk Cousins. I think the key difference is there's way more talent on the defensive side of the ball this year than there was in years past. And it really comes down to Justin Simmons and Matthew Judon. Like this defense had a lot of concerns, and those two guys immediately squashed all of them for me. And I have a little bit of cornerback concerns, but that's a very forgettable concern when you're talking about a guy in Justin Simmons who can erase some of those. So I don't think it's crazy. That defense, 2016, that defense, that Vic Beasley all-pro year NFL sack leader was a flash in the pan. I mean, the guy had 4.5 sacks against one of the worst tackles in the league. I can't remember the name of it.
Third string Broncos.
Yeah, it was just off. And the rest of the defense sucked, to be quite frank, until the last few weeks of the season. And then they were playing out of their minds.
Yeah, I mean, Deion Jones and Keanu Neal came on in the second half of the season, and they were the leaders of that defense as rookies and first and second year players.
I mean, A.J. Terrell at this point in his career is better than Desmond Trufant.
Desmond Trufant was out for the season after week 9.
Yep. And so both these safeties are better.
Jalen Collins was getting reps.
Yep.
Alford
this version of Grady Jarrett is better than that version of Grady Jarrett.
Yeah.
David Onyemata is better than any other interior lineman. I don't think it's even close. And then the second level.
I think really the offensive side of the ball is where you look.
Yeah.
And there's no Julio Jones on this team.
Mm-hmm.
But, Bijan Robinson is, in my opinion, better than Devontae Freeman ever was. I think this offensive line is a little bit better.
Well, the duo this year, the running back duo this year is certainly better than the running back duo of 2016.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree. I think the offensive line's a little bit better. And I think, Kyle Pitts is probably, if he's your second receiver.
Listen, if Kyle Pitts is everything that you think he is, if you think he's everything you think he is, and Drake London takes that step that I think he's going to be, and you got Darnell Mooney as your pass catcher 3, so to speak. He's our wide receiver 2, but he's going to be our third pass catcher. I think that goes toe to toe if Kyle Pitts takes that, generational leap like everybody thinks he's capable of doing.
Here's the difference, though. Kyle Shanahan.
100%.
Kyle Shanahan was calling the plays. And Zach Robinson is heralded as maybe he's part of that tree, maybe the next bright offensive mind. So maybe we have someone like Kyle Shanahan. I'm not saying anyone as good, but maybe he's comparable. But that's the difference. That is what made that offense tick. Because I think you could make the argument that the 2017 team, because that defense finally became a top 10 unit. Those guys were second-year players now.
Yeah.
They had, better cornerback play than Jalen Collins at the end of the year.
Yep.
So that 2017, I think, was a little more talented. They didn't have Kyle Shanahan, and their offense took a step back while their defense kind of carried the team going into the postseason.
So Kyle Shanahan was getting his job called for 2015. And then 2016, we obviously know what they did. MVP caliber season, or winner of the MVP, Matt Ryan. He obviously goes to San Francisco. Zach Robinson in his very first year, that's a lot to expect. And on top of that, Raheem Morris in his first year as head coach. Dan Quinn was in his second year. Those go a long way. Now, we all expect that, there's going to be no, excuses this year. It's the NFC South, and that's it. If you don't win the NFC South this year, there will be hell to pay. I don't care if you still win 10 games. You have to win the NFC South and host the first ever playoff game in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. On paper, going into the season, I undoubtedly think that this team is more talented than 2016, but a lot has to go right. Injury luck, first-time coordinators.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk about the hype going into 2016, coming off an 8-8 campaign, it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close to where it was this year.
That came out of nowhere.
Yeah, that was a team that got hot at the right time. Kyle was clicking. Kyle Shanahan was unbelievable, and now we know who Kyle Shanahan really is because of his success. Yeah. Didn't know going into that season. Hopefully something similar happens with Zach Robinson. Those are the moving pieces, but talent for talent, it's hard to argue.